Liverpool vs Bournemouth starting 11. With last year's Merseyside thrashing still fresh in the memory, Bournemouth returned to Anfield to face Liverpool on Saturday afternoon in the second week of the 2023-2024 Premier League season. The Reds were fortunate to draw 1-1 with Chelsea last week, while the Cherries played out a similar stalemate with West Ham United on the south coast. Liverpool boss Jürgen Klopp warmly embraced Chelsea boss Mauricio Pochettino at Stamford Bridge last weekend after the Argentine's return to the touchline, before trying to give his Blues counterpart a tougher reception in their opening Premier League game. The Reds' fast start was rewarded when Mohamed Salah's perfectly weighted pass found Luis Diaz for the opener. But Chelsea debutant Axel Disasi took advantage of a sluggish defence from Klopp's side to equalise before the half-time whistle. Salah, who has scored in every Premier League opening day fixture since 2017 but not this year, looked furious as he was substituted in the second half. But a Liverpool side that had just 35% of the possession in West London still returned to base with a respectable point. The absence of the number 6 in Klopp's attack-minded Liverpool team was evident against last week's opponents Chelsea. With Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia on the Reds' agenda, Wataru Endo signed for the Reds yesterday from Stuttgart as he preferred Chesley. The score was 1-1 in Liverpool's last home game of the 2022-2023 Premier League season after Aston Villa crushed their Champions League dreams. But the hosts are unbeaten in 12 meetings at Anfield, where Andoni Iraola will test his managerial skills. The Cherries' new boss has suffered defeats in pre-season matches and his team got off to a poor start last weekend when Conference European League winners West Ham United visited, with Jarrod Bowen scoring the first goal. But former Liverpool striker Dominic Solanke equalised for Bournemouth 8 minutes from time and Iraola ended the Cherries' 4-match Premier League losing streak under predecessor Gary O'Neill that tainted the end of the 2022-2023 season. Iraola admitted at half-time that he was critical of his team. He complained that his players were too slow. But he was pleased with their more direct approach in the second half and his side finished the match with 63% possession for their side. Indeed, it was 12 months ago that Liverpool recorded the Premier League's most lopsided win in a 9-0 demolition, but Bournemouth avenged that embarrassment just a few months later with a 1-0 victory at the Vitality Stadium. The second half of the redemption mission awaits the Iraola on Saturday. Liverpool's midfield woes are not helped by the absence of Thiago Alcantara and Stefan Bajcetic. Both are slowly working their way back from the injuries that sidelined them until the end of the 2022-2023 season. Both have started to show themselves in training, but Saturday's match is expected to be too early for them. Endo, too, will certainly not be thrown into the deep end immediately after joining the team, having been confirmed as a new player at noon on Friday. Cody Gakpo is likely to keep his place due to Curtis Jones' reported ankle injury, while Darwin Núñez is inches away from clinching the 3 points for the Reds. The Uruguayan could relegate Diogo Jota to the bench. Bournemouth boss Iraola, meanwhile, lost stopper Marcos Senesi to injury after 60 minutes of last week's draw with West Ham. However, Iraola is confident the Argentine is suffering from nothing more than cramp. The visitors will travel to Anfield without Alex Scott, Dango Ouattara, Ryan Fredericks, Marcus Tavernier, Adam Smith and Lewis Cook, but Lloyd Kelly, who has taken part in a few training sessions, could feature on Saturday. In terms of changes, Jadon Anthony could give way to Justin Kluivert on the left this week, although Antoine Semenyo's contribution to Solanke's equaliser is unlikely to give the former Red a start against the Reds. With all this in mind, Liverpool's starting 11 is as follows: Alisson in goal, Alexander-Arnold at right back, Konate and Van Dijk in the stopper tandem, Robertson at left back, McAllister, Szoboszlai and Gakpo in midfield, Salah on the right wing, Núñez in the middle, Diaz on the left. Bournemouth's possible starting lineup is as follows: Neto in goal, Aarons at right back, Zabarnyi and Senesi in the stopper tandem, Kerkez at left back, Billing and Rothwell in midfield, Brooks on the right wing, Christie in the middle, Kluivert on the left wing, Solanke up front. Bournemouth are still struggling to keep up with the Iraola, but there were encouraging signs in their game against West Ham, and this one will almost certainly not be a repeat of last year's defeat. Still lacking defence in midfield, Liverpool's hopes of a clean sheet may be unrealistic, but Klopp's side are much closer to their first win of the season against their injury-plagued opponents. Klopp wants a £35 million one-man army. Liverpool are looking to add another midfielder this summer after the surprise signing of Wataru Endo from Stuttgart for £16 million. The Anfield outfit have already lost Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia to Chelsea, and panic has set in as midfielders Jordan Henderson and Fabinho have already completed transfers to Saudi Arabia. Alexis Mac Allister and Dominic Szoboszlai were signed earlier in the season, but both are creative individuals and the more industrious defensive department still needs reinforcements. Liverpool may therefore be tempted to step in again for former target man Kone, with new reports emerging about the Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder. According to reliable German publication Sport Bild, Reds boss Jürgen Klopp has reignited his interest in the hard-tackling ace. The 22-year-old was on the club's radar as early as January. Reports in June suggested that Gladbach would be willing to discuss a deal, but they have placed a valuation of £35 million on the Frenchman. It is now up to Liverpool to meet the demands. The 22-year-old, who has 7 caps for France U21, impressed in the German Bundesliga last year. Last season he averaged 6.9 SofaScore points in 30 games, completing 87% of his passes and averaging 2.5 tackles per game. Described as a one-man army by scout Jacek Kulik, Kone ranked in the top 4% of midfielders in Europe's top 5 leagues last year in successful tackles and in the top 18% in blocks per 90 minutes, according to FBref, underlining his progressive presence and tenacity as a defensive force, a byproduct of his technique and impressive physique. The stats site lists Caicedo as a player comparable to the £32,000 a week machine, which reinforces the argument that Liverpool should make a move to rival Chelsea's new star. Indeed, Caicedo, who joined the Stamford Bridge side earlier this month from Brighton and Hove Albion for an England record £115 million, has rejected the Merseyside outfit. Caicedo, who arrived on English shores in 2021 for £4.5 million from his native Independiente del Valle, has made 53 appearances for the Seagulls, scoring twice and providing 3 assists. Dubbed the crown jewel of Ecuadorian football by football expert and historian Enrico Castro Montes, the 21-year-old machine ranks in the top 5% of midfielders in pass completion, top 13% in pass attempts, top 14% in tackles and top 15% in tackles per 90 minutes. Caicedo averaged an impressive 7.1 in the Premier League last year, which helped Brighton qualify for the Europa League, completing 89% of his passes and averaging 2.7 tackles per game. Given this superior level of possession and defensive ferocity in midfield, it's no wonder Liverpool were so desperate to hijack the Blues transfer bid. The similarities are there, and if Klopp succeeds in signing Kone, Liverpool could find the solidity and toughness they need to strengthen their squad ahead of the renaissance they crave.